hardly a crash down. It's more like me bumping into you as we get ready to go kayaking yet again. Hello everyone, I'm Clayton.
And I'm Darren.
This is Gone Kayaking, and yet again we're out. The weather is beautiful for what we want to do, which is some downwind surfing.
It is, and it's the first one for you, so you tell us how that left the seat of your boat.
Well, I must admit, there were a few nerves going into this one, because having done a few crossings with you where we've had the wind against tide and various other things, and some knots that were considerable, and some waves that were even more considerable, I was thinking I could be getting wet for this one. However, that wasn't the case. I'm glad to report I didn't get so wet. I didn't go over, I didn't go under. I had a jolly good time trying to get a really good feel for the boat, actually. I think that was the main thing from all of it, was the stability that's there and knowing how far you can go and what you're comfortable with, and getting more comfortable with the boat.
Sounds fair. Good plan.
And it was nice going out. We had a few people doing that, trying to take off.
Correct, all going around us, which was pretty cool to see them up close, actually.
So where did we go from, and where were we going to?
This is from Keyhaven, and following the southwest wind straight up the western Solent, and we stopped at Tanner's Lane.
And it was you and me and Captain Chris. So good, we have to say it twice. Now, the aim of this was really to see what kind of speeds we could get up as well, wasn't it? And for you, just to keep an eye on the pair of us.
A little bit, yeah. Well, it's a chance to use all the conditions that we have available. So if we just look for calm days, then we don't get much done. So when it's blowing a hooligan, we'll go and play with some downwind. It just makes the logistics a little bit more of a faff to find a car at each end. Yeah,
it's a one-way ticket, isn't it, from Keyhaven and out. So in order to do that and make it successful, we drove to the end point in two cars, left one there, and then came back in the other car and unpacked everything and began our journey.
Yeah, you can see here you can actually go back against it, so you could come back to the start, but it would be a bit short of fun. But I was coming back because I kept getting quite a wee way ahead, so I had to come back and catch up with you and Chris, make sure everyone's still alive and smiling.
As far as that goes, it's great. You were doing your thing and being the expert, as you are, and enjoying it and getting some really good speed up and catching the waves, and then getting the front end in as well, which is pretty cool. Look at that. Dive, dive, dive! Well, that's wicked. But it's a bit like when you play golf for the first time and you're rubbish and you get the one good shot. It's like, yes, I want to do it again. And that's kind of how I felt about the downwind. Was I caught a wave, I think maybe once. It's like, yes, I want to try and do it again, and then spend the next half an hour trying to catch a wave unsuccessfully.
I'm sure we can go and do some more.
No, definitely going to do some more. Even if it's not here, but somewhere else where we can go a bit further afield. But look at that, and that was the thing. Look, you missed one, but then the next one's on you in a flash, and you're able to catch that one.
That is the fun with these, where there's always another wave right behind you, so you just catch one and ride it until you've either had enough, or you've got to come back and see what everyone else is up to. So there's a lot of fun to be had.
And what was it like for you in your new boat doing this?
Well, this boat's great. You can see a few bits later on where we catch up with you and we're up close. You can see how easily it's surfing compared to yours.
And how does it compare to other boats that you've had? And by that I mean just give us a brief description of the ones you've had before and this one, and the differences in terms of playing with it in this manner.
I had a Dagger Exodus, which was same as yours, and it's quite a tank. It's a heavy boat, and you'll tend to feel how flexible the plastic is compared to this one's very rigid. It still does have quite a wide flat area underneath it, so it would catch waves quite well, but the rounded corners made it quite an interesting beast to actually handle once it was planing. Where this one steers like a small whitewater boat, it's really controllable once it's planing.
Yeah, you're certainly doing that, making it look very easy. Chris's boat should be able to do the same sort of thing, but he was struggling a little bit, wasn't he, to make those kind of similar manoeuvres.
We've seen in other videos he's caught some big waves and he's had a good time surfing, but this particular day he seemed to be being a bit cautious.
What, Captain Chris? Cautious? You're joking.
Yeah, there's probably some regulations and rules of the road to follow.
Yeah. Oh, talking of regulations and rules of the road, there's one.
Yeah, we had to pop across the channel going into Lymington, so we were fairly well ahead of the ferry, but you can see Captain Chris there just coming out of the sunset, so he's come across the channel now. I stopped to make sure he made it in front rather than under.
I must admit, I did have it coming towards me as I was trying to get across. I'm thinking, it's going to get me. But it's a little bit like it's trying to be run over by a steamroller. If I move, it's not going to get me. And it didn't get me, so I was all right.
Well, that's all right then. Be ashamed to leave a smear on the ferry.
Yeah, I might get charged for it. But there's some definite swell around, isn't there?
Indeed, we're getting further away from the Hurst Spit, so the waves start to get bigger as we get further up the Solent with a longer fetch.
Fetch? What does that mean?
How far from the land. So the further that distance, the greater the waves will be.
Excellent. Technical terms, people.
Get in there.
That's all. It's every day is a learning day. I fetch, for me, was something I'd throw a stick for the dog and then ask it to fetch it.
And it doesn't, does it?
No, not at the moment. it will. It was good fun. Very tiring though. I did find it can be a bit just because you having those moments where it's like, right, gonna get it. Oh, I didn't get it. And but other than that, it was good fun. Look at you circling around again. Off you go again. And
it's good to show off when you can.
Yeah, I was catching a wave. Do you see? I had a little paddle out. Yay! Just trying to stay straight.
That's the way.
It's fair to say that we've gone out in rough conditions, and it's not something I would go out in on my own, being the level of a kayaker I am. I went out because you were with me, and that's really important, isn't it? That if you're going to go and do something like that, it looks good, but you have to be competent in what you're doing.
It's true. By default, to get these conditions, we're looking for a rough day. This was around 30 knots, thereabouts. And the further offshore you go, then the better the conditions are for this, which is nice. But if you're not with someone that can help out, or you're not capable or confident with your self-rescues and sorting yourself out, then it's a ticket to trouble.
So please bear that in mind, people. If you think, oh yeah, I fancy having a go at that, great. But make sure you've got someone with you, and make sure you're of a sufficient level if you're on your own that you are able to get yourself out of danger or get yourself back up right if you go over or go under. Being able to do half of a Eskimo roll doesn't really cut it. And so that was us. We got to the end and time to pack up. They seem very heavy. I know they're not overly heavy, but they did seem quite heavy actually with when you've done all of that paddling. I know it was one way and it was some of the tide helping, but it was still quite tiring.
You still have a bit of kit in there. I tend to take all my dry stuff anyway rather than leaving it in the car, because while it's nice to get back to the car, you might end up stopping somewhere else. And
yeah, just enjoy this, people. Captain Chris, what are you doing? Again, it's every time. Yeah, brilliant. He didn't manage to get it off eventually. So this was the trip, and you can see because it was on your boat where you were looping back round towards us to make sure that we were okay.
Indeed, you can see the little wiggles where we were heading in. You can see that the waves are actually taking you in towards the shore, so you'd sort of go in on a few waves and then you have to come back out to end up with that sawtooth GPS track, and then you've got the little wiggles where I was actually coming back to wait for people or find them.
Yours looked like that. Mine, if I had the GPS on, mine would have looked like a set of stairs, I think. Something like that. The sawtooth, it was in and then come back out again, in and then come back out again. My ability to go straight wasn't quite as good as yours.
Maybe your compass batteries are dead.
Well, that's it from this video. We hope you've enjoyed it and it's given you an idea of what it's like to go out in rough conditions and how much fun you can have going downwind. From myself, Clayton.
And me, Darren.
It's time to say goodbye. There will be plenty more videos to come. I may not be in the next few because I'm off to the Winter Olympics in China, in Beijing. I'll be freezing my ass off out there and supposed to freezing my ass off in the water. And until then, from all of us, stay safe, people. Why did I just point when I said that?
I did wonder that.